when I hear about people throwing chairs off of roofs and stuff, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Hey everybody, I just wanted to explain that when we filmed this Marcus King podcast, unfortunately the camera angle that was filming me got corrupted. So you won't be seeing any of me on this podcast. You'll hear me, but you won't see me, but you'll be seeing a lot of Marcus. I hope y'all enjoy. As always, I appreciate y'all. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. I appreciate all of y'all's support. I guess I'll start us off here. We're here with the legend himself, Mr. Marcus King. Marcus, it's good to see you. I hadn't seen you in a while. I guess I saw you last year at the CMA Awards or something.
Yeah.
But glad to finally get to sit down and talk to you and talk about your career and music and everything else. How you been doing?
Man, I've been doing good. I'm a big fan of the show, so it's great to be here.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm a big fan of yours and your music and everything you got going on, which is a lot. You just telling me about how busy you are out on the road. But I kind of want to back it up and talk about, I know you came from a musical family, but kind of how you got started in music.
Yeah. Well, take it all the way back. My great-grandfather played Appalachia fiddle, and he taught my grandfather how to play. My grandfather played fiddle, and he played banjo, guitar, mandolin, bass guitar. He played everything, and he sang. And he was really the first singer in the family, aside from all of his brothers and sisters, and they all played dobro and banjo, and they just kind of did it around the house. It was always a big part of the family.
Yeah.
It was a part of every one of our family get-togethers. And my grandfather had 3 sons. Ron and Don were twins, and my dad, Marvin. And my dad played guitar, Don Boy played bass, and Ron Boy played guitar. And my grandfather, that was his band.
Yeah.
Once they got old enough. But before that, he was a career serviceman in the United States Air Force, and he was in charge of booking all the talent for the NCO clubs.
Oh,
so
wow.
he hired all the country musicians in the States that would come over and play for him. So, he booked Barbara Mandrell, he booked Johnny Cash, he had Charlie Pride over there, and his band would back him up. So that's kind of how it started. And my dad played rock and roll his whole life, and just, brought me up on that. So I just had a really rich array of music to choose from around the house,
Yeah. Well, when did you start playing guitar?
I must have been like 2 or 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
I was drawn to it.
Yeah.
And I started playing drums first. Guitar, I was always banging around on that. But the first instrument that really I was passionate about was the drums. My dad got me a cheap set of drums when I was about 4 years old, and I was just enamored by them. I don't know why, but and I don't know why guitar ended up becoming my primary obsession. Maybe because I could play it all day and not piss my parents off.
Yeah, that's a good enough reason.
Yeah.
So, was your dad, was he like a touring musician at all?
Yeah. My dad traveled his whole life playing until about the 90s, and then he was in a few, top 40 country bands that he would play with while simultaneously working, on his own deal up here in Nashville. He had a band called Five Wheel Drive, and that was him and Ronnie Godfrey, who had previously been in Marshall Tucker Band for a period of time, and his brother Ricky Godfrey, Alan Pearson on drums, and Franklin Wilkie on bass, who was in the Marshall Tucker Band not long after. He was the first replacement after Tommy Caldwell passed away. So they had a really great band. They had great songs. Tree Publishing actually pitched them songs. This was in 90, 91, and they cut Watermelon Crawl and they cut Indian Outlaw, and they ended up passing on them. They didn't do it, and that deal fell apart. Jimmy Bowen actually signed them, and I'm not sure exactly what happened, but they did their showcase at Douglas Corner, So my dad brought me up on that idea, and like what Nashville could be.
Yeah.
And how the opportunities here. My grandfather saw the opportunity in Nashville. My grandfather actually, he wrote his like bio, I guess you would call it, or what do you call it? Like a post-mortem. So after he died, there was something that you could read, kind of his life story. And he talked about doing competitions because like Roy Acuff and them were sending scouts out all around like the Southeast to find the players that would end up being the Nashville players.
Yeah.
And he entered a competition when he was like 15, and then, or when he was 16, and then he ended up lying about his age and enlisting in the, the Army, and then they shipped him off, and he had won the competition, so he had always, he had a ticket to come to Nashville, but he was already overseas.
Right.
So he never quite made it up here, and then he was a weekend warrior. But my dad. Sorry to go on a rant, but he had a deal, and that ended up just kind of falling apart. Just like I don't think the group could really get it together, but it was such a good band. So he ended up working a lot of weekends, and he was in the house band down at Wendell's in South Carolina.
Yeah. And
I know like Luke Combs played there. Like a lot of really great names went through Wendell's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know from an early age that music was a career path that you was going to take, that you wanted to take? Well,
I knew I was going to be either in the ministry or in music. And I just got all ate up with it, man. I liked hearing anybody with conviction.
Yeah.
So I was inspired by the Pentecostal pastors I seen growing up, and I was inspired by the music all around me and the music that I discovered myself,
Yeah. Well, tell us, how you really got into it, how you made a career out of it. Because I remember seeing, I don't know, it was probably 10 years ago or something, a video of you at a guitar store playing guitar, and it was viral. I guess everybody saw it. But I remember watching that and knowing that you was going to have a heck of a career ahead of you. Was that kind of a turning point for you, or had you already been in it by that point?
That was an interesting turning point. Right before that, my drummer and I, it was when I was 18 years old, we cut our first record together out in San Diego, because it was just really bizarre the way things came together. That's where we did our first record, because we had some friends in the reggae music world.
Yeah.
A band called The Movement and a band called excuse me, I'm forgetting. What was that name? Oh, yeah, a band called Soja. The horn player from that, a cat named Rafa, and they had this crazy place because like Larry and Jay from The Movement, their mother had like some kind of court settlement, and they got a bunch of money from something because something went terribly wrong, and she ended up, paralyzed or something like that. And then they bought this great big mansion outside of San Diego, and they had like a pot farm on the property, and it was just this really weird, crazy scene for us. And we were like, hell yeah. And our buddy Bill Hahn was like, I'll fly y'all out there if you want to do a record. So we went out there and we recorded, and then I ended up dating the girl that was engineering the record, and she lived in San Diego. So I went out there an awful lot at that time, and her sister lived in L.A., so we went up to visit her sister in L.A., and she said, you got to check out this guitar store up in Tarzana, and I'd never heard of it, except for in Spinal Tap, they had the Norman's Rare Guitar t-shirt on. So went over there to Norman's Rare Guitars, and I grew up, my grandfather was always like, you don't need to show out for nobody, just do your work, just play, and just be good at what you do. You don't have to you be a showboat. So it was really a foreign concept for me to go in there and try to make them pay attention to me.
Right.
But my girlfriend at the time, she's like, this is L.A., you just play and sing, they're gonna love you. And I was like, I don't know. So I started playing, and you know, that kind of shit just makes me all just uncomfortable. And sure enough, they heard me and they're like, "Can we film you for our YouTube channel?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess that's why we are here, I guess." So
yeah,
we did that, and then me and Norm became friends, and I mean, I owe a lot to them for doing that for me, just on a whim.
Yeah. Yeah, it was incredible to see. I remember people sending that video to me and just saying, "Man, look at this young cat play," and it was pretty incredible. What happened after that?
So after that, I guess that video kind of made the rounds, and I had a good friend in North Carolina, Rocky Lindsley. He was a great drummer, and we were writing together and hanging out. And he had gone to high school with Warren Haynes in Asheville. So I gave Rocky the record that we had just done, and he just was, all about it. And he sequestered Warren and his wife, Stephanie, and said, "Sit down, I'm going to play you something," And, a few years previous to that, when I was like 15, I'd gotten kicked out of Warren Haynes' pre-party for the Christmas Jam because I was posing as a caterer, and I was trying to get my demo to Warren at the time. So for that full circle to happen all those years later, I guess I must have been 19 at the time, Warren took an interest in us, and he got me and the band together, and we did a record up around where he lives in Connecticut.
Yeah.
At this studio called the Carriage House. And Meatloaf did a lot of really cool stuff there.
Yeah.
It was just really neat, like haunted-ass old carriage house.
Yeah.
But we cut a record there that ended up being self-titled. And then not long after that, we came to Nashville. And that's the first time I'd spent any extended amount of time in Nashville. Was in early 2018, and we cut Carolina Confessions here with Dave Cobb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an incredible producer Dave is.
He's something else.
He's fantastic. And then it just blew up from there. I mean,
it just kept kind of gaining traction. But, I always kind of think like there was, I don't know, I had a lot of substance abuse issues, and I had a lot of unpacked, childhood trauma that I had never really dealt with. I'd never really, tried to look in and do any kind of healing.
Yeah,
I had no faith or anything. I was just kind of floating around on a breeze, and music was the only thing I had that made sense. So I don't know. It feels like now things are in perspective, and things are taking off at a time that I feel like I can handle it,
Yeah.
When we did that record with Dave, it felt like things wanted to get moving. Just wasn't the right timing,
Right. Yeah. So you want to talk a little bit about that? I know you're sober now.
Yeah, well, mostly sober. I still smoke my pot.
Yeah.
But that keeps me sane.
Yeah. I'd imagine that's hard. I hear a lot. I talked a lot about this with T. Graham Brown, who, he went all the way to the bottom. He's got that fantastic song, Turn the Wine Back into Water.
Yeah.
And he talked kind of about what you were just saying, about how that was killing him, really. Mm-hmm. Is that how you felt about it?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the goal, That's kind of where I was at with it. I don't know. I couldn't figure out how to make a relationship work. I just had I don't know. I was really difficult to be with. I was not a good partner, and I was just really hard to love. And I think that was the case in my friendships as well. And I was just pretty self-destructive, and just wanted to numb myself as much as I could.
Right.
And I was really, I struggled with my weight my whole life. And I had a few nasty run-ins with like legends, like people I looked up to that would, put me down about my weight and tell me I'd never make it in the music industry unless I looked like the Rolling Stones or any of that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And that led me into like eating disorders and, just drinking all day, bringing up all my meals. I was just in a real nasty place. And, I managed to dig myself out of that a couple times. And then the pandemic happened, and I'd been sober up until that point, sort of, and then I kind of fell back into that. And then that caused another shift in my love life,
Yeah.
as you could imagine. I started drinking again, and like from the first night I started drinking again, I was like passed out on the bathroom floor, just like I don't know how to do it casually. Like I've worked with people that are like, I'm gonna grab one beer and then go to bed. I'm like, who the hell wants to do that?
Yeah.
What? One beer never tastes as good as 15.
Yeah.
You
ever heard that song by Waylon, the Hank Williams Syndrome?
I believe I have.
He's talking about, I think it's kind of from the perspective of him singing it, but talking about, young musicians who try to follow Hank Williams' path. They call it the Hank Williams Syndrome, and he's glad he's over it, basically. And I think, that is kind of a problem with some young artists. You hear Keith Whitley talk about George Jones was his hero, so he thought he had to drink, all the time in order to make that kind of music. But I appreciate you for sharing that side and that story with us, because, like I said, T. Graham Brown really went in depth with his story, and after that, I got a bunch of messages from people who, were talking about their sobriety and wanting to get sober, and how him talking about that helped it. So I think it's real important to talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who are, going through that today who it might help.
Yeah, I mean, I never mind talking about it, but man, it's one of them things, like falling off the wagon is part of that journey sometimes.
Yeah.
I remember being hungover, speaking to a sober, like a sober music thing. Mm-hmm. I was like the keynote speaker, and I was like hungover, and I had to tell him, like, I fucked up. And like, life is not all candies and nuts. So I don't know, man. I'm really happy. I'm happier sober.
Yeah.
And the last time I really like made an effort to get sober was when I met my wife, and I just, I fell head over heels for her, and I saw something that made life worth living again.
Yeah.
And that kind of started that program. And it still took me a little while to figure out that I just was better off without it.
Right.
I thought that I could drink like a gentleman, like Ozzy Osbourne talked about, just like learning how to do it casually.
Yeah.
Never quite figured it out, so I don't know. I decided just to put it down. But I love to see my boys drinking, because they know how to have a reasonable good time. I'm like, I want to have a good time to the point that, other stuff gets involved, and then I want to get on the roof, and then I feel 10 feet tall, and I just want to see if I can fly,
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're glad that you found that sobriety and took that journey and can have a long, successful career and not drive yourself to that end goal that you was talking about. We hope to have you around for a very long time and enjoy all the music that you make. But you just talked about one of the reasons is Briley, meeting her. You want to tell us about how y'all met and stuff? Y'all are kind of like a power couple, really.
Yeah, I mean, that girl's she's really headstrong, and that's what I needed. I mean, she's a little bitty thing, but she put my ass into perspective, and she really. Well, the night I met her, we were in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she had been at the show the night before in Charlotte, and I reached out to her. I seen that she was at my show, and I was just drunk at 5 a.m, and she was getting up to go to work, and I replied to something that she had tagged me in, on social media, and she's like, "Well, good morning." I was like, "And a good evening to you." And she's like, "Your show was good, but you didn't play my favorite song," and that was "This Old Cowboy" by the Marshall Tucker Band. So I said, "If you come to Raleigh, I'll make it up to you." And she said, "I happen to be going that way." So she came up, and I was just real nervous to meet her, and I was trying to come off the heavy stuff, so I was just pounding White Claws just to feel somewhat normal.
Yeah.
And she came on the bus, her and her friend Aaron, they came up, and they just put on a 2-woman show, and me and the guys just sat there just dumbfounded by these 2 music theater girls listening to Linda Ronstadt on our bus stereo and just dancing and singing, and I just really was taken by her immediately.
Yeah.
And, the bus was running, ready to go. I gave her a kiss, said, "Quit your job and marry me." And she said, and I heard from somebody later that that's called love bombing, but it worked in my favor, But I said, "Quit your job and marry me." And she said, "You're crazy." But that's what happened.
Solid response. Did she marry you right away, or was it y'all wait a little while?
We waited a little while, longer than I wanted.
Well, that's great. Man, y'all doing some incredible stuff. Her cover of "The Night the Lights Went Out" in Georgia's everywhere right now.
I know.
It's crazy. And, just everybody's using it on everything. It's like when I'm scrolling, every other video it seems like you can hear Briley singing "That Lights Went Out in Georgia."
It's crazy because I look at that and just the irony of it all, because that came about because we did our family reunion and Jamie Johnson was there and Leah Blevins was there. God, we had so many friends there. Tanner Adele was there. We just had so many friends coming up and singing honky-tonk songs. And we were going on right before Jamie's set on the first day of the festival. And I was like, "Briley, would you do this song?"
Yeah.
Because I always loved the Vicki Lawrence
Yeah.
Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. And she's like, "I don't know. I don't want to do that," Because she's always been really bashful about her singing in public anyway.
Yeah.
She puts on a lot of performances at the house. But I finally talked her into it, and that was the first time we were going over it, was in the dressing room.
Yeah.
And somebody recorded it, and that's what ended up going out, and people demanded that we record it. So we recorded it, and she ended up sending me a clip of Reba talking about the song, and Reba was talking about how Vicki Lawrence's husband had written the song and couldn't get anybody to cut it. And he's like, "I can get my wife to cut this song, and she'll have a hit with it." So that was the first song she recorded, and then it was a hit for her. So the irony is really funny.
Yeah, it is. I didn't even know that. That's pretty incredible. Yeah, it's something about the vibe of that video, like I guess y'all had horns or something playing at the same time. It sounded real jazzy. It was different, and that's what made it really cool. But it's neat seeing the two of y'all because it seems like y'all support each other a whole lot, and I think that's real important, especially whenever you're in a creative space like both you and her are, the support that y'all have for each other. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it could be hard, but just being away from each other, trying to make it work. But both of you being passionate about something is key. I've found.
Yeah. Well, you've been out on the road with some real cool people, right? Chris Stapleton. Who's some other folks that you've got to tour with that was just a fun time?
Man, we've been really lucky to tour with some of our heroes. We've been on the road with Tedeschi Trucks Band. We've been on the road, like you said, with Stapleton, and that's always a great time. Yeah. Chris and Morgan, I look up to them so much, and they always look out for us, Yeah.
We're
getting ready to go out with Eric Church.
Oh, that'll be fun.
which we can't wait for that. We just did a couple shows with Kojo and his camp, and they're a great time, man.
Yeah.
I love it when we go out on the road with people who embrace their openers. And, Paul Riddle always talked about the Marshall Tucker Band, and when they'd have people come open for them, because they had the original Leonard Skinner opening for them.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you know anything about that band at that time, like, Tommy Caldwell was a big proponent for, like, let's go see the opener and, see how bad they whoop our ass and make us want to really suit up and really get it done.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to see in my openers. I like to see them really put a hurting on the crowd, and it makes me want to suit up and really get to work. And that's what I feel when I go out with somebody like Stapleton or Cody Johnson. They're like, all right,
yeah,
you suited up, we're gonna have to top it.
Boy, could you imagine going out and watching the original Leonard Skinner open for you? I'm like, all right, well, we got to follow that, boys.
No, I mean, I couldn't. And, like, I love, like, all the old billings and seeing old posters, like Little Feat opening for Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's what I love, man. I love, like, eclectic music billings.
Yeah.
It can be a little rock and roll. It can be a little country. My dad saw Leonard Skinner open for The Who in 1974.
Wow.
He saw him in Atlanta, and he said that was the most powerhouse band he'd ever seen.
I couldn't imagine seeing a bill like that. Leonard Skinner open for The Who. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Man, I'm going to tell on myself here, but you know me, I'm just so deep into old country music, and that's kind of my forte.
Yeah.
And I was out behind the Ryman one night, just happened to pass through there. I don't even remember why I was back there, but I was kind of walking in that little alleyway and come out on the other side of the Ryman, and there was a red tour bus there with a white trailer behind it. And I saw a band starting to get in, and I was just walking by, and one of the guys said something to me, and we ended up standing there and talking for 10 minutes or so, and I never even asked him who they was. I just talked to him a little bit. And I went around the back, and there was a guy loading lights into the trailer. And I was like, I might should ask him who that was. I didn't feel comfortable, asking the band, hey, who are you guys? You know, they were older guys. And went in, and he was loading lights up. And I said, hey, who's on the bus? And he looked at me like I was stupid and goes, it's the Marshall Tucker Band.
Oh, yeah. Wow, man. Yep.
Which I've seen tons of videos of them playing back in like the 80s and stuff, 70s and 80s. I just didn't recognize them whenever I talked to them, but I did get to talk to them for a little while. But what an incredible band. I assume they had a major influence on your career.
Man, they did. They really did. Toy Caldwell was, just one of the most impactful players for me growing up, and singers. And, Paul Riddle still lives in South Carolina, the original drummer. And, the story of the Marshall Tucker Band is that's a whole other podcast episode, but just the ups and downs that they faced, and their tenacity and their ability to band together, and their ability to encapsulate what the upstate of South Carolina has to offer musically and make it available to the world was what really impacted me and inspired me to try and do the same thing in their footsteps. Me and Charlie Starr and Otil Burbridge and Paul Riddle and Josh Schilling, we started a group by the original name of the Marshall Tucker Band, the Toy Factory. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of that in the coming years, but just playing old school Marshall Tucker Band and, trying to make sure that music survives the test of time.
That's going to be so cool.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah, I'm having Charlie on in just a couple weeks. So that'll give me something to talk to him about. That's going to be awesome. When are y'all going to kick that off?
We had our first show, actually, back earlier this summer at the Telluride Bluegrass Festival. And that was really fun because we had Bela Fleck sat in and Sam Bush sat in on Long Hard Ride, which is one of my favorites. And Yeah, man. I can't wait to listen to the episode with Charlie, man. He is an encyclopedia.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been listening to Blackberry Smoke for years, you know. To me, they just brought back something that seemed like it had been missing for a long time when they came around.
Yeah.
And golly, kind of like you. I mean, you the same with you. You know, it feels like you brought around something that has been missing for a long time, or maybe not missing, but just not out there. If that makes sense, not out there for people to consume easily. And you really brought it to the mainstream, which is incredible.
Well, I appreciate that. I've always felt like it kind of goes in cycles, you know?
Yeah.
The 80s was a really poor time for Southern rock music.
Yeah.
And even the 90s, you know, the grunge scene. But like the mid-90s, you had the Kentucky Headhunters, you know, you had Travis Tritt. You had real Southern rock music kind of on the mainstream.
Yeah.
It's crossed over, not dissimilar to the way that bluegrass has the ability to cross over into that mainstream. But, you know, the Allman Brothers Band sold out the Atlanta Braves Stadium in the 70s, and I think that Southern rock has the ability to do that again. It's just a different way of doing it. But the Marshall Tucker Band, they couldn't really fit into one box.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same way we are, and Blackberry Smoke, you know, Silverado, 49 Winchester. There's so many great, just real country rock and roll bands, and that's my favorite. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of this next movement.
Yeah, it's exciting because country music seems like it seems like everything is shifting backwards.
Yeah.
To the roots.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, shifting backwards might seem like not a great thing to do, but I think it's fantastic. It seems like for a long time, music in general, not just country music, but a lot of country music there wasn't no soul. You talked about having feeling and soul. That's what you love. And it seemed like just for a long time there, nothing on the radio had any of that. It was just overproduced, super polished stuff. And it's like, where's the grit? Where's the heart of this, you know?
No attitude, man.
Yeah.
It's like we grew up watching wrestling. Attitude Era was my favorite.
Yeah.
All the books or documentaries I watched, I'm like, you know, who wants to read a book about somebody that followed all the rules, everybody that did everything by the book? They're like, well, you know, we went in and we had a very nice Pro Tools session set up, and everybody followed the chart. I don't want to read that. I don't want to listen to your podcast about that. That's boring.
Yeah.
You know, when I hear about people throwing chairs off of roofs and stuff, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You get a little excited.
I get a little excited because I'm like, there's some angst back in the music. And like, I don't know. That's just the kind of stuff that gets me going. That's the kind of stories I want to read. But, you know, it feels like country music kind of has some attitude back in it now, which is exciting.
Yeah, I think it's getting back there for sure. I don't know if it'll ever get back to the peak of what it was, you know, and maybe that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
But it is exciting to have a little more attitude in country music in general. And it's guys like you who are to thank for that. I mean, that video that went viral of you when you just step out for Honky Tonk Hell.
Yeah.
You know, is anybody there? You know, that is... You look at that, it's like, this is music, you know, and you break into it. It's just so fun to watch, and your shows are so fun to watch. We talked about Dave Cobb, too, who's an incredible producer, produced some of the greatest albums. Another guy who produced some of the greatest albums you got to work with was Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was really incredible, and I owe that relationship really to the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, yeah?
Because I went on Grand Ole Opry and I played my song Goodbye Carolina.
Uh-huh.
And that clip made the rounds, and Rick Rubin came across it, and he called me.
Wow.
So he called me on the phone, and I got a heads up earlier in the day. Hey, man, Rick Rubin wants to call you today. We gave him your number. I was like, okay. And it's probably good because I wouldn't have believed him otherwise. Yeah. So we spoke on the phone for an extended period of time. I just talked about mental health, talked about, just a lot of the things we're talking about now.
Yeah.
And talked about how my hang-ups with mental health could just be a writing partner for me, and that kind of created that relationship. I went out and I met him at his place in Malibu, and we just sat and talked about music. And then, for the next 6 months, I just stayed out there writing, and then we did a record together. And I'm really proud of that record. Just, it didn't really make a lot of waves within the industry, but the purpose of it was really just to connect with people that needed to connect with it.
Yeah.
And I still get people that come up, reformed convicts and former addicts that come up and talk to me about that record, and that has made that record successful in my eyes. Just the people that connected with it.
Yeah. Man, I thought the whole thing was incredible. It was a really great album, really well done. What is he like as a producer? What is he like in the studio?
It's hard to get him in there. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. He's a very particular dude, but he's, when you can align his focus and you can get something in front of him that he's excited about, which for me, he was excited about what I was doing. And when we finished the record in around Tuscany at his place out there, we were working in like an 11th century cathedral, just bare bones building, and it was really very Rick Rubin. And he'd come in and he was really engaged, and he was, what I really admire about Rick is the work that he's done, the amount of time that he's been doing it, but his ability to still be excited and, giddy, like a childlike glee about music. So when he's engaged, he's very engaged, and he's very, he listens to a song more intently than anybody I'd ever met. So it was exciting when he was engaged. It was very fun.
Yeah. Well, you have new music.
Yeah.
That's right around the corner. Mm-hmm. I was lucky enough to be sent it and got to listen to it early, and it's phenomenal. Straight up Marcus King all the way.
Thanks, man.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we did Carolina Confessions, the engineer on that project was a fellow named Eddie Spear, and we hit it off right away all those years ago. And I guess it was a few years ago now, my manager at the time was like, I want to get you a meeting with this country producer named Eddie. He's really great. And I was like, Eddie Spear, is he a British guy? And he's like, no, I don't believe he's a British guy. He's a country producer. And I was like, all right, I'll sit with him. And then we had coffee, and I was like, oh, it's my friend Eddie. So we just instantly reconnected after all those years, and he's been one of my favorite collaborators, one of my favorite producers to work with. He's just very, he's melodically driven, but he's also he has an ability to look at a record holistically and put together just the perfect encapsulation of an artist that makes it the most digestible for the consumer. And, I loved his work with Zach Bryan. I loved his work with Sierra Farrell. We were really excited to get in the studio. And I said, I want to feel at home with this one, so I want to go down to Macon, Georgia, and I want to tap into the energy that's still there on that hollowed ground and work at Capricorn. And my buddy Eddie 9-Volt had just recorded there, and our buddy Brent Cobb had just recorded there. So I said, something cool must be going on. So we went back down, and we were pleased to see that the A room had been virtually untouched. So it was still, true to the Tom Dowd, level of perfection that had been put into the room for the Allman Brothers Band, for the Marshall Tucker Band, for Wet Willie. So we got in there, and we recorded for 2 weeks. It's a functioning museum, so we had to get over the hurdle of them letting us smoke pot in the studio. But once that happened, we were good, and we were off and running. but just with everybody's schedules, you know, it took us like a year and a half to really get the record done. But I'm just so tickled with how it turned out. You know, our families all came down and hung out, and Paul Riddle came down and spent some time with us, telling us stories about the old days. And our buddy Brent Hines came down even and recorded on the record with us. It was just, I don't know, man. It just feels so at home.
Yeah.
And the title of the record, Darling Blue, is from a song called Carry Me Home, in reference to the Blue Ridge Mountains, my darling Blue Ridge Mountains. You know, me and Eddie, when we talked about what we want to write about, he said, go read East of Eden. And I said, okay. So I went and I listened to the audiobook for East of Eden, and the first song I wrote was Carry Me Home, just a love letter to the area of the country that I come from.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the record's about.
Some great collaborations on it, too. I mean,
Yeah.
Jamie Johnson, Caitlin Butts, Jesse Wells, Noah Cyrus.
Yeah.
That's really cool to have those collaborations on there and get to do that with those folks.
Yeah, man. I mean, me and Eddie both, that's our favorite part about working is the collaborative aspect of it. So, you know, I think if he and I were let loose completely, it'd probably be a collaboration on every song, you know?
Yeah. Well, I don't usually do this, but I thought it'd be really cool just because I really believe you're going to go down as one of the, legendary guitar pickers of our time.
Well, thank you.
I really believe that. And so I thought it'd be cool to showcase that a little bit.
Okay.
In this podcast. So why don't we pick a little bit for these
Let's
folks?
do it.
I'll give you a little rhythm and you just do whatever you want.
Okay.
Boy, Marcus King, what a guitar player. It's an honor to just get to sit here and pick with you a little bit.
Pleasure's all mine, man.
Well, y'all be checking out that new album. What day comes out on the 26th, right? It's right around the corner.
26, yes, sir.
26, yep, coming out right around the corner. Y'all check it out because I've listened to it, and I mean, it is absolutely phenomenal. Where can they go to find your tour dates?
You can go to marcuskingofficial.com, check out all the tour dates, and see where we're going to be.
Yeah, if y'all want to see an electric, like we were just talking about, gritty, unpolished, just fun, good time of a concert, y'all go out there, check it out, get Marcus's music. I mean, this guy's a legend, and he's going to continue to be a legend. So we appreciate y'all for listening. Marcus, I appreciate you for coming and doing this with me.
Thanks for having me, brother.
All right, appreciate y'all.